Joe Mazzulla cops to his sins. He should have called a timeout. Still think this was a failure on 3 levels. 4 if you count Jalen Brown. We'll talk about that right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I'm here for you every single day with a free, fresh podcast for subscribers dropped directly to your device. If you are on whichever app and you haven't subscribed, go ahead, fire it up, subscribe, and then once it drops, you'll see it pop up. You can also watch a show on YouTube, hop in the comments section. Lots of people in the comment section talking about that loss in Game 4. Lots of Sixers fans talking their junk. I'm John Karalis. I used to play back in the day. Now I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. Later on, we'll get to some of the Jalen Brown stuff. There's a lot to still kind of get to here. Jalen Brown, the last play, the last 30 seconds or 20 some odd seconds. But we'll start with Joe Mazzulla and his admission that I should have called a timeout. By the way, today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Tom Westerholm is here. Tom _NBA. How _ are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Welcome back from Philly. I'm glad you made it.
I am back. Yeah, it was a little rough, and I decided to drive, which is not my usual choice.
I love it. I love it. You should do it all, like everybody should do it all the time. Big driving guy.
So yeah, you're right. It wasn't bad. I have my car, I like my car. But there's a stretch of 95 through Connecticut that might just be winding roads through Satan's intestinal tract. It's just the worst stretch of highway in America, and it's difficult. But hey, you know what? The ride home after that Game 4 loss just made it that much better. No, it was good. It was good. Let's get to that because let's Joe Mazzulla held a Zoom. The Celtics are making Joe available on days where guys are traveling. Yeah. So shout out to them. They're making the accommodations to make sure Joe Mazzulla has a chance to talk the day after, so it's not dragging on and on and on. Which I like. They're not asking him. We're not asking him the questions before Game 5 about the stuff from Game 4. We still, get that out of the way now. Yep. Let him get through that, and then Game 5 we can all turn our focus forward. So I think that's smart to do. But in this call, he was asked obviously about the last play, and he said, "Hey,
several times,
and he said, I admit, in hindsight's 2020, and you learn a few things. You should have called a timeout." Let me see if I can get the exact quote here. But it doesn't matter what the exact quote is. Basically, he understands that you should have gone 2 for 1. You should have gotten the ball up. So my take is still the same from after the game. I don't care about not calling the timeout right away.
Right.
That's fine, but let's emphasize. If the ball is inbounded, you sprint up the floor. I don't mind sacrificing 2-3 seconds of getting the ball up the floor with 18 seconds left, as long as you get into an action pretty quick and you're shooting the ball somewhere around, 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds, somewhere in that range. Like you have time to take 5-6 seconds, which is a lot of time on an offensive possession.
It is.
To, that's 25% of the shot clock you can get. And how many times do these guys shoot within 25% of the shot clock? And you haven't called a timeout, so you have the matchups you want. Harden, Maxey. Credit Harden for making some defensive plays, but you still
absolutely
have Harden out there. Maxey is a guy they like to attack. Tobias Harris is a guy they like to attack. So go attack it. Yes. Go score. I mean, you guys are proud of your defense, right? Go defend. It's the same thing I said the last week. So throw the numbers out and go score, and then defend. They had done a really, really good job of defending prior to Jalen Brown's poor decision. So I remain okay with the timeout not being called if you go up real quick, because then you still have the 2 timeouts. And if you shoot quick enough and you make, and what if they make? Well, now you have another timeout
Right.
to advance the ball and get yours. So all of that is to say, I'm glad Joe admitted it. I'll get your reaction first before I go into my next spiel.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. And I think it's interesting. So on Boston.com, I did like a second by second breakdown of this, right? Like for just to really hammer home each of the moments when a timeout could have been called, right? Like, so the Celtics, if you watch right at the beginning of the play, right, the Sixers did something smart. They let like Tobias Harris stayed up and prevented the inbound from going to Tatum so that Tatum could have brought the ball up, because that would have sped the things up for the Celtics. Honestly, given the result, that might have won the game for the Celtics, because Tatum would have driven earlier. He would have found Smart earlier. Smart's 3 went in. Like, them keeping the ball out of Tatum's hands initially made the Celtics have Smart bring it up and then have to pass to Tatum. But like, there's this dead period from 13.5 seconds to right around 6 where nothing happens.
Yes.
Like, absolutely nothing. And that's of the seconds in between 13.5 and 6 where nothing happens. It would have been a good idea to call the timeout,
right? Because
it was very clear that it was stagnant by the time, and then at 6 seconds, Tatum is still directing the play, right? Smart comes up and Smart's going to set a screen, and Tatum's like, no, get out of here. That's happening at 6 seconds. Like, you need to be in it by then. I mean, honestly, you should, like you were saying, you should probably have had the shot up by then, but you definitely need to be into your action by that point. You can't still be chilling at that point. And I mean, it's just, Derek White just kind of meandering out to the 3-point line to set the screen with the guy that the Celtics very expressly wanted in the action. Like Tatum obviously taking his time. Like it all just took so long, so that by the time Tatum actually made his move, I mean, the game was basically over unless Tatum created a miracle at the rim, and he almost could have, but that's neither here nor there.
So this is what I've been saying, that the final basically 30 seconds is a failure at 4 different levels. But one of those levels is Jalen Brown's leaving James Harden, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Get to that. Yep.
The final play is a failure at least 3 different levels, because
Al Horford, you're exempt. Way to stand in the corner, buddy.
But hey, you know what? We can throw Al Horford in there if you want, because Al's been around, man. He should know better. And he should be at least
great timeout celebration.
He does a great, yeah.
He could have just
big timeout.
Everybody would have seen it.
Right. Everybody would have seen. You're right. He should have been at least, like, if no one else is doing something, Al should have, this is picking nits at the highest level. So you're right. Al Horford is exempt. But I can also make the argument that Al Horford's been around long enough where he should have been like, hey, come on, go, and like gesturing. And maybe if Al is gesturing, maybe Joe Mazzulla is like, I'll call a timeout now. But it starts with Joe not calling the timeout, like looking at the clock going, come on, guys, come on. Yeah. Somewhere around, it gets over at what? 14, did you say? 13, 12?
That 13.5 is when Smart crossed half court.
Right.
Yep.
At that point, between 13 and let's say 11, where it's very clear they're not going anywhere.
Everything had stopped.
Timeout.
Yep.
So that's
no question.
That's failure number 1. Failure number 2, Marcus Smart. You want to be the point guard so damn bad? Point guard. That is not point guarding. And I'm the biggest Marcus Smart guy you're going to find.
Excellent player. Yep.
That's not point guarding. That is, I don't know where his head was at. So a point guard has to know time, score, situation. I swear, I said it on last night's podcast. They were acting like it was a J.R. Smith moment. Like, they're acting like it was a tie game.
It was weird.
They were acting like it was a tie game. It's like no one understood that they were down one.
Yep.
So right behind Joe Mazzulla is Marcus Smart, and he is just better than that. He's better than that. And it's just, thinking about that after the fact, like your point guard has to be aware. Let's go. Let's push it. Get it up the floor faster. Look. He should be waving his arm. Come on, Jaylen. Come on, Jayson. Let me drive. Let me see what I got. He's not shy. Go drive. If you're going to drive and there's nobody to kick, then, dribble your way through. Chris Paul your way. Back out and at least show that you're trying something. So that's failure number 2. Failure number 3, obviously, is Jayson Tatum. For like, hey, you go that way. You go that way. You got the ball. You're setting this whole thing up. The play is for you. Go before 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, again, time score situation. Hold that thought.
Yep.
Tom's reaction to that, because we're going to continue this and get into the Jaylen Brown stuff next. First, let's talk about the Game Time app, which, hey, if you didn't expect a game 6 in Philly, you want to go, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, let's check it out. Game Time might be a great way to get yourself a ticket, because there's no planning months in advance for this one. They've got tickets on deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. And it doesn't have to be sports. It can be concerts. It could be a comedy show. It could be a theater. Whatever you want. The Game Time app has those tickets available at the last second. And the Game Time guarantee means you always get the best price. So if you find tickets in the same section in a row for less, Game Time credits you 110% of the difference. You can get images of your seat right before you buy it, so you can say, hey, all right, now I know what I'm looking at when I go to whatever it is I'm going to. Tickets, matter of seconds, 2 taps, boom, you're done. And they're sent directly to your phone, so you don't have to dig through your emails to when you get to the venue. Snag tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA. That'll give you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Celtics Sixers Game 5, 7:30 at the Garden. Obviously, the winner of Game 5 wins most of the time, so I'd say it's an important game. You can catch it all on Sirius XM. Sean Grandy, Cedric Maxwell, the hometown radio call. It's on the SXM app. Search Celtics. Tom Westerholm had a reaction to what I said about the failure at 3 levels on the last play. Joe, Marcus Smart for not point guarding, Jayson Tatum for not recognizing the situation and moving faster. Tom?
Well, the only other thing I was going to add about Tatum is if you watch like carefully on his drive, he got the step on Maxey and Embiid comes over, right? And I think Embiid collapsing is the reason Tatum kicked it out. He kind of had a shot. Like Embiid did not go up to contest him. Like he kind of had that layup. I now he was moving very fast and he might have missed. Like I understand all that stuff. Sure. But like,
am I going to have to call this play up so we can take a look at it?
Listen, man, I'm down.
This is going to be
he
another.
Had a shot at it.
A YouTube. Go ahead, keep talking. I'm going to find this. This is going to be a YouTube spectacular. But we'll talk YouTube exclusive, I should say. We'll continue to talk it through so the people who are listening on the podcast don't feel left out. But let me call this thing up, because you're right. Like I questioned whether Tatum should have shot the ball. Okay, screen sharing. Let's do it. Again, we'll talk it through for the folks on the podcast or on the audio podcast. Whoops. Technology. Okay. So with them go, there are 11.9 seconds left. So Horford's in the corner, Derek White.
Meandering in the middle.
Meandering. All right. Wave Jalen Brown off. Marcus Smart, like, come on, do something. You know what, Marcus? Just take James Harden off the dribble. Just take him off the dribble. Dribble to the right. Go draw Joel Embiid, kick it to Al Horford. Let's see if he can make up for it. Right there, boom. And you know what's going to happen is Tyrese Maxey is going to come chase you. You can dump it off to Derek White. PJ Tucker comes over. Jalen Brown, wide open corner three. Like, that's going to be the progression of that play. If Marcus just goes. Like,
also, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Also.
Well, no, also fun little Easter egg for anybody who watches this play again. Watch the bench reacting to this. You can see Grant Williams going, come on.
Tatum
you can see
against
Peyton
Harris.
Pritchard going, come on.
Yeah.
Guys, you can see Aaron Miles just kind of freaking out over there. Like, people are not happy.
People are not happy at this point. No.
Celtics
so right away, Horford setting up.
Let them go.
Like, I know that this is what I was saying. One of these recent podcasts, the everyday listeners, everydayers will remember. Like, you can't just go to Jayson Tatum all the time. Don't just go to Jayson all the time. There's Smart's play there. Okay, fine. They've gone this far. I don't know why Tatum is this casual, and he's looking at the clock. You can see him at this point. He's looking backwards at the clock on the other side. He's like, okay, I know I've got.
He's so far from the hoop too.
Yeah, he's on the 6 on the logo, facing
and that's
the other
not
hoop.
a huge logo. Like,
it's not.
Some of these logos are huge. That's not a big one.
So again, a failure. He should not be.
Tatum
And
against
by the way,
Harris.
also travel. just for the sake of, like, I'm glad, like, this. No one ever calls the
Celtics
travel
are gonna play.
in these situations. I don't know why
Mazzulla's gonna
NBA
let them
players
go.
do it,
Down
but if
by
we're
one,
watching
10 seconds
him
to
get the
play.
ball, just watch him get the ball. 1, 2,
Tatum
3,
against
4.
Harris.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, he's doing like a little shuffle.
Yep.
Over here at this point,
Tatum.
boom. Why not get it to look at where's James Harden looking at the ball? Joel Embiid at the ball. PJ Tucker at the ball. Double teamed. No one is looking at their guy anymore.
Yep.
Derek White is at the top of the key. Get him the ball. 2.7 seconds left. Plenty of time for him to catch and shoot. Time to catch, up fake James Harden, dribble into a free throw line jumper.
Yep.
And then, to your point,
Here's where if you like, here's the thing. I understand Joel Embiid is loading up at the rim to try to block Tatum. I understand if you're Tatum passing out of that because it looks like he's going to go for it. But if you hit play, he stops. And also, I don't know if Embiid was going to get to that.
Smart.
no. You know what he should have done?
Joe
Sorry, I can only go
Mazzulla's
back
going to
to
let them
15
go.
seconds.
Down by 1. 10
This
seconds
is
to
a
play.
great time. Again, now this
Tatum
is
against
this is where I have issues with Jayson Tatum as the superstar. Understand your options as the star player. Stop and pop.
Harris.
Look at what's going to happen here.
Tatum.
Chase, reckless. Look at plant your right foot. Go straight up. Maxey will foul you. That is an absolute foul waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Or stop and fake and let Maxey foul you. And you're in the bonus, I believe. So even if it's on the floor, go straight up. Just drive, go straight up. Boom, he's chasing you. But this is when I talk about the failure for Jayson Tatum. Superstar is supposed to recognize who is on him. He got the switch for Maxey, but Harris was trailing him. So you know what you have. I'm guarded by Tobias Harris. I'm looking for the switch onto Maxey. I've got 2 guys on me. That means the guy I just left is open. So you can stop, pivot, and get it to the guy that just left you and let him make a play. You pass it to Marcus Smart, get it to the guy that's open with time. But to me, Jayson was just like, it's me. Damn, I'm out of room. Can't be me anymore. And then last option is to pass. That's where I really have the biggest problem with this mentality of, hey, I'm the star. I got to get this done. If you're willing to pass, then be willing to pass. If you're willing to give the ball up in an advantageous situation for a teammate, then do it. But do it the right way. That was Derek White. In that, even with everything that we said that was wrong, Derek White was the guy. not Marcus Smart. And it was only Marcus Smart because Tatum was stuck. And that's a fact. So that might be Tatum's biggest failure. You're the superstar. You're supposed to recognize what your ability is, what your gravity is, and make the play. And he didn't make the play. I'll leave it at that. I think Tatum is obviously very, very good, and obviously fourth in MVP voting for a reason, and obviously will be a first team All NBA deservedly. But play like that in that situation shows he still has so much more. And I'm not saying this is a negative either. It is a bit of a negative in this particular situation, but also it's a positive because, like, man, he's got so much more that he can learn. And in that situation, I've always said Tatum's ability to manipulate the defense is like the next level of superstardom. And he does it. He's doing it better. But that was a situation where he could have really, really done it, either in giving the ball up or drawing a foul. And hey, with Tatum's ability to score, could have gone up. Maxi's not a big guy, not as big to affect Tatum. He could have maybe even drawn a 3-point play on that, and really ended things. So I don't know. That's kind of all I got on that last play.
Yep. Nope. That's about it.
That's about all. All right. Let's get back to, we'll come back. We'll talk about Jalen Brown and that whole thing. Tom's got takes on Jalen. We'll do that next. We'll give Tom the stage. First, today's show brought to you by Prize Picks, and Prize Picks is giving somebody $1 million potentially every day of the playoffs and the finals. One of you, Prize Picks users, can get a chance at becoming a millionaire. One entry placed after 8 a.m. Eastern Standard gets randomly selected each day. Whoever placed that entry gets a 6-pick flex with the following payouts. All 6 correct, you get $1 million. 5 correct picks, 80,000. 4 correct picks, 16,000. PrizePicks.com/million. Go there, opt in, get the full details. PrizePicks.com/million. Once you do that, once you opt in, just play the game like normal, which means you pick 2 to 6 players. In this case, all 6 players. And if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, then you win. You're not competing against other people, and you're picking from just about every sport that you can watch around the world. 60 seconds to make your entry, super easy. The withdrawals come pretty quickly. Operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the Prize Picks app. Go to prizepicks.com to sign up. Play daily fantasy sports. If you're a first-time user, on top of everything, you get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. So sign up with that promo code. Anything you deposit up to $100 gets matched only if you use that promo code Locked On. Celtics Sixers Game 5, 7:30 at the Garden. Obviously, the winner of Game 5 wins most of the time, so I'd say it's an important game. You can catch it all on Sirius XM. Sean Grandy, Cedric Maxwell, the hometown radio call. It's on the SXM app. Search Celtics. So I said 4 failures. And it's kind of wild that the top 4 guys, your coach, Smart, Jaylen, and Jayson, were making these mistakes down the stretch. This is not how you win playoff games. It's one thing to say Derek White made a mistake. All right. That Al Horford, I would expect more, but hey, you know what? He's older. Maybe he's trying to make a play. Maybe he couldn't get to whatever. Those other guys, though, they should know better, especially Jaylen, who left James Harden, which, he copped to, and I don't want to belabor any points, but hey, in Game 5, you don't think that these situations are going to come up again. Jaylen's been the number 1 guy guarding James Harden. So they're going to try to get him off of James Harden. They're going to try to get him into foul trouble and all of that stuff. So Jaylen has to be better.
He does. It was interesting going back and watching the way he defended in Game 4. A lot of the time, he actually helped off Harden a lot and helped onto Embiid off Harden a lot. Like, that was not, by no means was that the first time that he did that in that game. The big difference is that he helped off the strong side, and that's just a much easier pass to make. And, he didn't get burned earlier. Partly, his helps were, pretty smart. Like, they were smart gambles. Like, times when Embiid wasn't really looking. And I think if you watch that play, it's like Embiid wasn't looking at Harden for most of it. It's just that he took like one extra pivot step, and then he was swarmed by two people, and he very correctly noted like, oh hey, like one of these people who is helping made a big defensive mistake at a very important moment here, so I can kick it out to Harden. So I mean, it's like I feel for Jaylen a little bit because it was something that he'd like. I'm sure it was just kind of like he saw. Embiid was on Tatum. It was probably going to be a bucket, but that just time and score, but like you can't do that there. So
yeah,
just a tough play.
the time losing track of time score situation is a cardinal sin. Or what was the other sin? I'm not a religious person, so I remember when was it venial? Is that right?
I'm not Catholic. I don't know.
Yeah, well, one of the sins that Joe Mazzulla mentioned.
Where's Joe? Yeah,
where's he? He's the guy that knows.
Yeah.
But regardless,
we did look it up that one time. I don't remember what it was.
We did. But the point is, like, this is a team that I completely believe can win the title, and it's as I framed it on Boston Sports Journal, it's a battle between their flaws and their potential because they have not reached their potential yet. They absolutely have not. As I mentioned before, Jayson Tatum has so far to go. But look, I'm kind of tired of this stage of the Celtics in a lot of ways. I know it's part of it, and they can absolutely still win a championship. I think they are better than the Sixers. There's a reason why I've been saying what I've been saying about the Sixers, because the Celtics have the right matchups. And yeah, the Sixers are tough. They're third in the East for a reason. They, for a lot of good reasons. But Boston is better. Boston was the top seed for a long time. They have the better matchups. They should win this. They should win the championship. Looking around the league, I mean, I can't believe Miami is setting themselves up to be next. I mean, we're going to go through this again. I was sitting there saying, you don't want Miami in the first round. And here we are.
Didn't. You sure did not.
Absolutely did not. Looks like you can get Miami in the third round. Somebody is. Oh, my God.
Somebody might get Miami in the fourth round. Let's not kid ourselves here about Jimmy Butler. Because
I mean,
jeez.
At some point, they got to remember that they suck, right?
Look, man. I sent this link to you, and I'm not going to use the word that Jimmy Butler used, but in November, after the Heat started 2-5, Jimmy Butler said to reporters, we're still going to win the championship. I don't even care. Like, we're still going to win the effing championship. Like, he was in November, he was saying this. Like,
yeah. They're like 2-10 or something like that.
Yeah, they just like really bad start. He was like kind of sullenly just telling everyone, well, we're still going to win the championship. I don't even care. And it's like, end of the season comes, you're the 8th seed. It's like, oh, haha, nice try, Jimmy. And now it's like, oh, no, okay. He might pull this thing off. Big Jimmy Butler guy.
Yeah, you were a big Jimmy Butler guy. But it still feels like it's still not it's not fluid right now. It's not they still need to understand that for them to be their best, and this is where the disconnect is. Jayson Tatum and Jalen Brown absolutely believe in their abilities. They're 100% confident in their abilities, and they believe they're two of the best players in the NBA, which is objectively true. Mm-hmm. They are both among the top 15 to 20 and top NBA players, right? Jayson Tatum, by virtue of being first team All NBA as we expect, is going to be considered a top 5 player in the league. Even if you say, no, that's he's top 10, whatever. You can put those guys within the top 15 or 20. But they need to understand that they are at their best when they're working with each other and not taking turns. They have to understand that they're at their best, not by saying Jayson Tatum has to get the ball all the time at the end, by just running their damn offense. And is Jayson Tatum against Tobias Harris the best matchup? Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, a lot of times it is. But hey, let's run a little bit of offense here and just work it around and make sure. And then I'll go back to Marcus Smart on this. You're the point guard. You got to make sure that, like, let's run some stuff through Jaylen sometimes in the fourth quarter. But more than that, those two guys have to understand, like, we're just looking for opportunities to break down weaknesses in their defense, not necessarily chase bad matchups, but work the ball around, see, oh, there's an opening here, boom, go take it. It's a little bit of a shift in the mentality. And maybe some people might say it's semantics. I see the difference in saying work the ball, create cracks in the defense, and let these two guys exploit the cracks versus just go find the matchup to exploit and then try to break that down. Because too often it's just Tatum against this guy, and it just becomes nothing else. And because of that, you get a situation like you did at the end of the game because it just default into the habit. The habits are Tatum versus everybody else. And you just don't want that to be the absolute habit. You want everybody to feel empowered. You want to feel like you can move the ball. You feel like everybody can touch it. You feel like you can dominate. Because when everybody's doing that and you're playing that style, it doesn't. You will never come down to the last second shot, or you will rarely come down to a last second shot because you will have played such great basketball that you will win easily.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that, earlier you said, the Celtics kind of haven't reached their potential yet. And it's like, at least you hope they haven't, because they may have in November. Like that might have been the potential of this team that they met at that point. But because that looked like what you're talking about, right? That looked like guys exploiting the cracks in the defense. That looked like the ball whipping around. That looked like all of that stuff. I mean, you and I were, it was interesting. You and I were texting earlier today, and you brought up that you would like to see more Tatum and Brown pick and roll. And, I went and looked, and it was like, I mean, Gabe Vincent is running more pick and roll than either player. Like Austin Reeves is running more pick and roll than Jalen Brown. Yeah, they're not playing much of that right now. Like that just, it's like a few possessions a game for both of them. And I don't know. It feels like you say, like kind of a missed opportunity there.
As I said on last night's podcast, I don't care that it brings up PJ Tucker. Okay. Right. In that situation, I'll repeat for the people who didn't listen yesterday. Derek White can hold the corner. He's a good enough shooter where he can hold the corner. Jalen Brown can come up and set the pick. And you say, oh, well, now you're going to get PJ Tucker on Jayson Tatum. Okay, well, that's still single coverage. So Tatum now has single coverage, and he can rise up and shoot over that. Or Jalen Brown also has single coverage. And if they decide to come up and double off of that, who are they doubling off of, right? Yeah. Like, it's just there's another step for these guys to take. It's infuriating sometimes, and it really is infuriating in the moment because you're like, guys, you know this. Joe Mazzulla knows that you want to get more than one possession in that spot. I think Joe gets so caught up in the moment. It's like, all right, let's see if this works. Let's see if this works. Like I've said before, earlier this season, so I think Joe needs to almost kind of disconnect himself from the game a little bit and understand that his job isn't to be so crazy intense and focused. His job is actually to be like, all right, big picture, what's working, what's not. And let those guys on the floor be hyper focused. And you be like, hey, something's off here. We're not, you actually have to take a little step back and see the whole picture. And, Joe was a point guard. He should know this. I think that first year
or point guards are hyper focused, right? Like
sure. But I don't know. I just feel like the coaches need to have the bigger picture. They need to understand, like the guys on the floor have kind of like, you can call the play, but I think sometimes Joe maybe gets a little too, maybe tunnel vision is the best. Blinders on a little bit. Like maybe he is thinking too much like a point guard. Maybe I stumbled into something there. Maybe because he was a point guard that he kind of like is so focused on that play. Like, hey, Joe, you come on, you remember timeouts? Let's go. And I'm really not saying that to be like, Joe never calls timeouts, because I don't want to have that whole thing. But in this situation, that was kind of what he needed to do. So, but everybody's learning, and that's what sucks, because this is the semifinals, and you hope that the lessons don't cost too much down the road. Still think the Celtics are going to beat the Sixers. But did learning this lesson cost them? Because now you got to go back to Philly and play an extra game. You had that game. You were going to steal it. You came all the way back, and you had that opportunity. And you went from, oh God, it'd be so great if they steal this game, to, oh my God, they blew this game. You don't want to have those blown games. Now you have another. We're back to a blown game against the Hawks, a blown game against the Sixers. Now you're going to face, theoretically,
kind of 2 blown games against the Sixers.
Yeah. And theoretically now, like you look at the Miami. All right, well, Miami, what's the thing about Miami? They play hard. They play hard. They're going to make you work. So I don't know. Maybe that'd be better. Maybe that'd be better for the Celtics, because you got to come with it every day, or else you're going to get worked.
Yeah.
The Celtics have the half that they had in Game 5 or Game 4 in Philly there against Miami, and Jimmy Butler's going to roast them for 30 points in the half, and it's going to be bad. So sorry. I mean, God, I knew you didn't want to play Miami. All right. Let's see. That'll do it. We're going to wrap it up there. I feel like that game really needed 2 podcasts to fully process through what they went through at the end, because those are just mistakes that shouldn't have been made. All right, Tom, thanks for hopping on, buddy.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you for listening. I really appreciate you hopping on. If you're new, welcome aboard. Everydayers, love you. I love that you're here Monday through Friday to check out the podcast. And hopefully, I don't have to do a bonus podcast over the weekend. Celtics play on Tuesday night, then they play on Thursday night, and I want that to be done. All right? Celtics in 6, I'm standing by it. So make sure you're subscribed, get that podcast dropped directly to your device on whichever app you use to listen to podcasts, or watch the show on YouTube. You can get that little extra bit from the breakdown and all of that stuff. And hop in the comment section. And everybody who's an everydayer, share the podcast. Tell your friends. Spread the word. Tell people they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.